The Cursed Ale of Boulderbrew. The crisp mountain air of Boulderbrew village carried the faint scent of pine, earth, and something unexpected, sour ale. For a town famed for its brewing, the stench was a dire omen. Thalwyn, a druid with a knack for solving odd problems, crinkled her nose as she approached the inn alongside her companions, Grimdor, a stout and perpetually grumbling dwarf, Eryndil, an elven archer with a gaze sharp as her arrows, and Sister Liora, a human cleric known for her unwavering patience, especially with Grimdor. "I'm telling ye," Grimdor said, sniffing the air. "That's no ordinary ale gone bad. It's sacrilege." He clutched the handle of his massive hammer like he meant to smite the scent itself. "We'll figure it out," Thalwyn said, brushing a strand of green-tinted hair from her face. "But let's start with the villagers." Inside the inn, chaos reigned. Patrons staggered about, laughing hysterically or shouting at invisible foes. A bard slumped over his lute, giggling uncontrollably. The innkeeper, a wiry man named Bertold, waved the group over, his face pale as fresh snow. "It's the ale," he cried. "Every barrel's cursed. Folks who drink it lose their minds. Business is ruined." Quote. Grimdor slammed his hands on the counter. "Ye mean all the ale is tainted?" His eyes widened with horror. "What about the reserve stock?" Quote. Bertold shook his head. Liora cleared her throat. "Have you noticed anything unusual recently? Strangers, odd deliveries?" Quote. The innkeeper nodded. "A caravan arrived last week, bringing new ingredients from the forest. The brewer swore it was harmless, but ever since." "We'll investigate," Thalwyn said. "I'll save your ale," Grimdor added, "for a pint or two of the good stuff." The brewery mystery. The party trekked to the brewery on the village outskirts. The building stood like a fortress, its thick stone walls blanketed in ivy. Inside, rows of barrels lined the walls, and the air was heavy with the sour tang of spoiled brew. Thalwyn knelt by a barrel, running her fingers over a faint shimmer on its surface. "There's magic here," she murmured. "Not powerful, but mischief magic. Likely a fairy or trickster spirit." Grimdor snorted. "Fairies. Bah! A good swing of me hammer'll sort 'em out." "Let's not smash the barrels," Liora said, placing a calming hand on his shoulder. "Not yet, anyway." Eryndil motioned to a trapdoor in the corner. "Tracks lead down there. Something's been sneaking in and out." The group descended into a damp, narrow tunnel. Glowstones illuminated the way, casting eerie shadows on the walls. At the end of the passage, they entered a cavern filled with glittering pools and crystalline formations. Perched atop a stack of barrels sat a fairy dragon, its scales shimmering in shades of blue and gold. It held a tiny flagon in its claws, sipping contentedly. "Who dares disturb the great Fizzgleam?" It trilled, its voice high-pitched and mocking. A sparkling showdown. "That'd be us," Grimdor growled, stepping forward. "What have ye done to the ale, ye winged menace?" Quote. Fizzgleam tilted its head, feigning innocence. "I merely enhanced it. Your boring human brew needed some sparkle. My magic makes it more interesting." "Interesting? It's driving people mad," Liora said. "Details, details." The dragon waved a claw dismissively. Eryndil's bow creaked as she nocked an arrow. "Undo the enchantment. Now." Fizzgleam yawned. "And why would I do that? The humans don't appreciate my artistry." Thalwyn stepped forward, her voice calm. "Perhaps we can make a deal. You return the ale to normal, and we'll find you something else to enchant, something worthy of your talents." Fizzgleam's eyes sparkled. Tempting. What do you offer?" Quote. Grimdor muttered, "Offer it a boot to the head." Liora silenced him with a glare. Thalwyn produced a pouch of glowing moss. This is starfire moss. It glows brighter than the finest jewels. You can have it if you release the ale. Fizzgleam examined the moss, licking its lips. Deal. With a snap of its claws, a wave of energy rippled through the cavern. Cheers and consequences. Back at the inn, Bertold anxiously poured a mug from a newly purified barrel. The group watched as he took a cautious sip. A smile spread across his face. It's perfect. You've saved us. Quote. Grimdor grabbed a mug for himself, guzzling it down. Aye, this is more like it. Quote. Fizzgleam, now perched on Thalwyn's shoulder, let out a contented chirp. You're keeping it? Eryndil asked, raising an eyebrow. For now, Thalwyn said with a smirk. It might come in handy. Grimdor finished his drink and eyed the fairy dragon. If it so much as looks at another barrel. Fizzgleam stuck out its tongue. Liora chuckled, patting Grimdor's shoulder. Think of it this way, you'll always have someone to share a drink with. The dwarf grumbled, but the sparkle in his eyes suggested he didn't entirely mind. As the sun set over Boulderbrew, the village returned to its lively self, with laughter and music filling the air. For the adventurers, it was just another day, albeit one with fewer demons and more drunk dragons.